Alright, so welcome everyone. I look slightly different than usual. Alright, I'll double check. Okay, now we're good. We're recording. It's been 6 months. I'm still not used to this process, but oh well. So, welcome back, guys. And if you can't tell by the title of this video, I will be going on my very first adulting solo travel trip by myself at 23 years old. And I'm also autistic, and to be quite honest, I am very nervous but also super excited. Of course, it's my first time. Well, technically I was living away from home like when I did dorming life in my undergrad, but this is my first like having to check myself in the airport and by myself, and then getting myself to the accommodation and everything, technically like just arranging everything by myself. It's going to be fun. So anyway, so I just want to create a little podcast episode this week regarding travel tips for fellow neurodivergents, what I am doing to help myself through the very often stressful process of just packing, planning, traveling by myself, and we'll see how it goes. But otherwise, I am feeling quite secure with taking these extra steps versus how I would be if I had not been taking these extra little precautions and steps to help me feel more secure. So let's get started. But first off, I don't know guys, I tried the no hat look for once. I feel naked. Anyway, this might be a bit of a shorter video, a shorter podcast, because I also just started my new classes this week and we're back at it again, guys. We're back at school, and I'm also preparing for my trip this weekend, so it'll be a doozy. It'll be quite busy, but I will do my best to get a bunch of streams done and getting this out there before I leave for my trip. So anyways, without further ado, let's finally move on before I keep rambling. So first I'll lay out the sort of timeline for today's video. It'll be first is my solo trip prep, then ND anxiety tips, or hacks as the pop culture term would be these days, trip budgeting tips, and a surprise adulting milestone. Guys, I'm so excited to share with you guys at the end. But anyways, without further ado, let's jump into first solo trip prep. Now, I mentioned this beforehand, jumping into this, how I had a bunch of anxiety and I was feeling quite a little queasy, not gonna lie, just thinking about the idea of just flying by myself because I've never done it before in my life, and that is understandable because it's something you haven't done before. It's classic anxiety until you do it. So needless to say, there are a bunch of precautions and tips that I took upon myself in order to best prepare myself for this trip. So number one is asking someone who is very well versed in traveling by themselves, and that for me personally in my life is my sister. For you guys, it could be a trusted friend, it could be looking up articles, look up online, like hey, like I know out there's a few accounts and people that may be into advocating and giving tips for ND people like me. If I could remember from the top of my head what those accounts are, I would definitely be sure to link it here or at least in the description. Otherwise, I will be making a little short or reel that will be stating the little steps that I will be sharing with you guys today. So anyways, the first tip is to ask someone you know that is well versed in traveling, knows how to get themselves around and everything. And the second tip is to be able to to take notes from what that said person or source is talking about. For me personally, for instance, like I asked her, hey, like is there any process that I should be remembering? Because for me personally, I would be traveling with my family for most of my life. I'd be traveling with my family for all my life. They would be honestly doing everything for me to help accommodate me, because personally I would always be super anxious at the airport. It would be such a super fast pace, very stressful setting, especially in particular the security, TSA. And so for instance, so we'd mitigate that because I actually, in order to kind of accommodate myself, I paid for TSA PreCheck, and there's actually a couple of programs available. This is specifically for the US, I believe. In the US, there's a couple of programs that are for TSA PreCheck you can sign up with, you get registered, and for me personally, it was a super fast process. You just go to like a local store that's like registered with the federal program, basically kind of licensed to do the TSA PreCheck stuff. The only problem, of course, that because we live in a capitalist bureaucratic society, you do have to pay a bit much money. However, it lasts you for 5 years, and I paid about $76, I believe, for my IDEMIA TSA PreCheck program. I will try to link that program down below if you're interested, but that lasts me about 5 years, and this program essentially lets you skip one of the lines when you're checking in for security, which oh my gosh, it's such a good luxury, accommodation, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't mean that you get to avoid rude security offers the entire time, unfortunately, and mayhaps I low-key almost had a meltdown going to Hawaii last year. But anyways, I able to kind of put away money just to pay for TSA PreCheck helped me so much, and now going onto this solo trip by myself, I feel so much more comfortable and confident being able to go through the literally most strenuous part of the travel process, which is security for me, most likely stress-free, but we'll see how the security people are at the airport. But anyways, solo trip prep 3 is to research thoroughly the sort of area you're visiting, which should probably be kind of basic advice, of course, but by researching the area, by getting to know, becoming well versed with it, and also just looking up hotels and things to do. What is the noise level like at night? Like even looking up sometimes on like cities Reddit or stuff like that. Or if you have any friends or family that live in the area, go ahead and contact them and ask them like, hey, like how is the noise level at this part of town at night? Like, hey, what is this? And of course, if you do not have any personal connections, I highly suggest looking up online for any of that city's websites. At least here in the US, there's always been some sort of page or website that's meant for tourists that are visiting, and you can get an idea there like what type of town it is. And then the last but most important part of the solo trip prep section that I want to give you guys today is to once again ask your trusted trip advice expert, whether that be your sibling, friend, whoever around you is most well versed in traveling and most experienced. And if not, look at your resource again, which is the wonderful internet. And be sure to look to that, and be sure to look around and ask for what is the best websites or trip planner sites that are reasonable within budget. And for me personally, that is looking up flights on Google Flights. And there are other sites out there that scan the flights and track their prices, such as Skyscanner, and I honestly will just link a bunch of different websites right here in the description. On top of that, there are a bunch of hotel websites, websites that are able to find hotels at very affordable prices. For me personally, I really like the website Agoda from my sister, and highly suggest, because the area I'm going to is quite pricey, is all I'm gonna say. Alright, next let's get on to the ND anxiety tax. And to be honest, I don't know if this will quite help any of you guys, but the first thing I'd say is to be able to really kind of hone in on what exactly helps you regulate when you're stressed. And if you could take any of that with you when you're traveling by yourself. For me personally, that is bringing a stuffed animal, a plushie. Oh, there's one right here. So yes, for me personally, I like bringing at least one stuffed animal on my trip. It's hilarious because sometimes I'll be bringing like they're super small, like fanny pack or something, and I'll bring like the biggest plushie that's nice and big to hug, squeeze on the airplane. And yeah, so that's what I will be doing, and will not be bringing this Hello Kitty specifically, but we shall see. I'll definitely show you guys when I do my vlog. But and of course, technically tip 2 would be, of course, bringing fidget toys if any of those work for you. I suppose being aware of your body, like for instance, I tend to get really locked up, like with my muscles and joints, and I feels like the stress is more embodied if like everything tends to get locked up. So I remember to just kind of stretch a bit on the plane even. Sometimes I'll literally just like stand up like while just technically in my seat, be able to kind of, oh, I cracked my back when I did that. Just being able to kind of stand up and like really just stretch, release the tension on all your muscles and joints, because travel is a very stressful thing for all of us, regardless of your NT or not. So just know you're most likely not the only stressed one there. Tip number 3 for anxiety hacks, and I suppose technically this also goes to solo trip prep, so you know what, I feel like I should just combine these 2 sections by this point, is to basically have a sort of soft plan. I say soft planning because oftentimes if you make such a rigid schedule, oftentimes that doesn't help my autistic brain, at least for me. It makes me kind of sad when I'm not able to kind of hit all of these sort of goals or places and things to do. So I just call it a soft plan. So what that means is I will literally choose one thing and I will block that out for maybe like 3 hours, because I know realistically the way I go through life, like for instance, if I want to explore this really cute like cafe in the area or something, I might end up just wanting to just sit there and just relax, like read my book or something, like read my book or draw or whatever, instead of just being like go like, hey, let's go here. Nah, like for me, I am an INFJ. I love planning, but okay, I know there's a whole thing with, you get what I mean. But I like planning. However, at the same time, like I know realistically I have to still be quite flexible planning, especially when it comes to travel. Basically, when you plan, be able to have a lot of extra time allotted. Another thing too why is that realistically I feel like I will definitely need more time to kind of rest in between doing things when I'm exploring. So maybe you'll have a shutdown or meltdown and you're just done for the day after just flying, and you may just need to like rest in your hotel room for like 3 hours or something period. And I personally, I know this is like every different ND person's like sort of threshold, but when I went traveling abroad in Australia last year, like I remember feeling so tired and burned out after 3 years of just going all around Sydney. Oh, I'm sorry, I showed the camera. I was so so overwhelmed. And yeah, so I basically crashed out for like 2 days after the first 3 days I was in Sydney when I was traveling. And of course I got in a bit of a funk after that, and I felt bad because I was traveling with my sister, and yeah, not fun. So basically, guys, just a lot of your spoons and energy. The best thing you could do for yourself is soft planning and just being able to really give yourself that time and energy, if you can, to help your ND brain. But anyways, moving on, another quick tip is that nowadays, luckily, there's so many like online apps and other wonderful accessible features when it comes to airlines nowadays. So I would suggest is to check in for your flight online, and that would be through your airline that you're flying on, Hawaiian or Delta, whatever. These are just American airline examples. Usually the option nowadays to check in online, whether you're looking up your flight for their website or their app that may have. And yeah, so I highly suggest checking in through online, because that is one step off from the entire stressful process of just traveling by yourself. And it's a bonus if you don't have any check-in luggage, which is what I have, and I am so stoked just being able to go in and out of TSA, hopefully. Oh my goodness, not having to deal with the long line. Basically, there's a lot of waiting, I realize, when it comes to flying in airports, so the less you could afford, I suppose, to wait, then the better the entire experience is, in my opinion. But anyways, yeah. And next, I think it's one of the most important tips, honestly, is to be able to adjust your sort of packing schedule accordingly. So this could mean like, instead of just waiting like the night before to pack, it's like the equivalent of doing a last minute project on the night before for a project deadline at school. It's like that the way I describe it. So for me personally, what I am doing, I have my suitcase laid out on the floor. It's like maybe 5+ days out before I leave for my trip. But what I've been doing is just like nonchalantly, whenever I kind of go through my room and I'm like, oh hey, that I really want to take that. And so what I'll do is I'll just kind of mindlessly throw it in the suitcase. And what I do is sometimes I will literally just like throw it in there. But if I still have to use it for the day, like I remember literally just find it in my suitcase, take it out, use it, like if it's a toothbrush or something, like if it's like my hairbrush or something, that I'll just take it out of my suitcase and I just remember to use it and just kind of throw it back in after I clean it or whatever, to make sure that it is most likely going to be in my suitcase by my trip. But then that's definitely like a personal choice, who knows. If you're very much like I want to get everything locked in now for my anxiety's sake, then go ahead and do it. Personally, I just do that because it just puts way less stress on me, and plus right now, because I'm so busy starting school and packing and, you know, doing content creating, I'm like, I'm just gonna throw this hat in because it looks cute, and then I'll just check back on it. Things like that. You know what I just realized? I feel like regardless of these categories I supposedly put in this video, I feel like they all kind of mesh together slightly, besides the trip tips and the neurodivergent tips. But you know, that's just part of the cozy chaos, I guess, guys, of my brain getting cooked from so much stuff this week. Anyways, one last tip for travel budgeting, I suppose, is to really kind of identify what exactly you value, what you want to spend on when it comes to this trip. Personally, I am going on this trip explore a potential site where I'd be doing my graduate school for occupational therapy that I'm interested in, and on top of that, I'll also be visiting some family and friends in the area. So for me personally, like, I'm not gonna be out there like spending a lot on the hotel for a like luxury experience, no. So that's why I really owned in on finding like the best hotel deals and stuff like that. In addition, I do plan to kind of meal prep a little bit in the area using my EBT card and stuff like that. If anything, there's like maybe 1 or 2 cute little cafes I want to check out, so I made sure to kind of budget accordingly for going out for those expenditures, things like that. So being able to kind of sit down and identify yourself the values that you really want to spend on for whatever trip or excursion that you're going on, I think that really helps. Otherwise, if you're like me, where a lot of people really think I might honestly have ADHD too, like if I do not have any particular thing identified on what I want to do, I kind of just go like, oh, like, yeah, I could do this or spend on this. It's like, oh, this is nice too. No. Especially as a saving future grad student, I do not want to be spending things that I don't really value for my future that I want for myself. So that's also, in a way, self-care for you. But anyways, we've now made it to the last part of this video, and I am so excited to tell you guys the surprise adulting milestone that I hit, and that is, wait for it, I finally got a credit card. Y'all be staring at the screen and be thinking, this girl doesn't have a credit card yet? And here it is, folks. Here's my tea. Trying to be super transparent. And this is also kind of a reminder of why I made this sort of talking about financial literacy pillar on this channel. Because I personally never really had financial literacy or wellness growing up. So now I, at 23 years old, just now got a credit card. Can we get a clap? It's quite interesting. So I feel like, I don't know if this is backwards or not, I learned about investing in HYSAs, as you've seen in my previous podcast episode, but I never had a credit card, and so I just recently got one, and it just arrived today, so ooh, Woo! So yeah, I'm super excited and stoked, and I'll be able to try it out and use it for my new excursion. And in addition, I will now use it to help build my credit history for the rest of my life, basically. But yeah, so woo! And if you don't really quite understand how important a credit card is, I will definitely be making an episode in the future regarding that. And I'll definitely dig in as to why exactly did I hop onto this really fast. But anyways, that is technically the end of the episode. But anyways, I will definitely be doing a kind of deep dive explaining why credit cards are important. So anyways, I will be wrapping up this episode because now I gotta set up my stream. Anyways, today we discussed ND-friendly hacks for traveling solo, and we discussed the many sort of coping kind of techniques. Basically hone in what your values are when it comes to your traveling expenditures. Do you really need luxurious hotels or the best food wherever you're staying at? Or is it more of like a sort of business personal trip for yourself, or you want to hone in on networking or connections in that area? Like, it really depends, and being able to kind of identify that for yourself really helps kind of prevent you from extra random expenditures you don't necessarily value, especially as an ND, I must say that. In addition, be able to bring whatever comfort item, fidget toys, whatever helps you regulate yourself, and then also make sure to kind of just stretch your body. You may unknowingly be locking up all your muscles and joints. Personally, as an ND who has like the chronic shrimp position as an autistic, I kind of just do this like automatically while flying. And lastly, check in online for your flight. And then if you're able to have the means to do so, I would highly suggest being able to buy TSA PreCheck if you're in the US. So it could really help you kind of get rid of one more line from having to kind of struggle through in your stressful check-in process to the airport. In addition, look through budgeting websites such as Agoda. In addition, look through budgeting websites such as Agoda and Google Flights to track your flight. I just realized I never went in depth on tracking airplane flights. So quick summary. Nowadays, thanks to the internet and many other handy tools and websites, flight trackers like for instance Google Flights, they will give you a sort of calendar spread of how much flights will be throughout the month that you're looking to travel in. There will be so many different varieties of prices that it is honestly so helpful to be able to keep checking in every day. And I highly suggest using the incognito window because the internet knows it will track your footprint. So oftentimes what I would do is I actually booked my flight incognito. Yeah, I really should have put this in my travel tips, but you know, ND brain. And yeah, that is the gist, and we shall see how this works out for me. And I will be releasing a short kind of recapping all of my tips soon on YouTube and my TikTok and everything. But otherwise, wish me luck, and I am so happy and stoked to be a adult and have a credit card and also book my hotel and everything. Like, is this what it's like being quote grown up? I'm super stoked and happy to kind of have this as an investment for my future and everything, scoping out a potential area I might be living in. It's just so exciting. But otherwise, if you have any of your own ND travel tips or even just being a solo traveler, please feel free to share them down below in the comments. And otherwise, if you learned anything helpful from this, I really hope you did after my very long-winded ramble as usual, please let me know down below. Otherwise, if you have any further questions, please be sure to ask them as well down below. And otherwise, hope you all have a lovely week, and I hope to see you on stream. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and yeah, hope you have a lovely week, and woo, back to school, at least for me. But anyways, be prepared for a new travel vlog soon. Yay! I haven't really had one since like Anime Expo, but woo. Alright, peace. Bye.